This is Far From Home. I'm Scott Gurrian. You've probably heard this cliche that traveling to Cuba is like hopping in a time machine. Many American travelers love seeing the old cars from the 1950s, and they kind of romanticize the country for making them feel like they've gone back to the past. Now, if you ask most Cubans, they'll tell you they're sick of driving 60-year-old cars that constantly break down, and they very much want the embargo to end so they could have all the modern things that people in the rest of the world have, but I digress. During that brief moment a few years ago when there seemed to be a thawing of U.S.-Cuban relations and people were expecting a flood of American tourists, a lot of folks said, go visit before Castro dies and Cuba becomes a little less special. So I did. The reason I bring this up is because I feel like several of the trips I've taken in recent years have been to places people have urged me to go while I still can, or at least before things change. A few years before I went to Cuba, everyone was saying to go to the Galapagos Islands. It's becoming increasingly popular, so it's only a matter of time before the authorities start limiting the number of visitors, they said, so I went there as well. I've heard similar warnings about Machu Picchu, and then there's a long list of places people say to visit as soon as possible because they're threatened by climate change, like coral reefs that are dying, Pacific Islands disappearing, and of course, Antarctica. In some cases, I fear it might already be too late. Like you might have heard about the 11 people who died reaching the summit of Mount Everest earlier this year because it's become so overrun with climbers that they basically got caught in a traffic jam on the way up. And in Venice, Italy, people complain the constant stream of arriving cruise ships has caused overcrowding, raised the cost of living, and contributed to environmental destruction. On today's show, I've got two stories from Cambodia, which is one of these places that's changed dramatically in recent years. It was just a few decades ago that the country experienced a massive genocide where about a quarter of its population was killed under the rule of the dictator Pol Pot and his brutal communist followers called the Khmer Rouge. But today it's become one of Southeast Asia's tourist hotspots. And if you're going to talk about Cambodia, the first place that comes to mind for most people is Angkor Wat, a vast complex of temples from the 12th century that's listed by Guinness as the largest religious structure in the world. Back in 1993, when UNESCO first named it a World Heritage Site, it saw less than 8,000 tourists. In 2018, there were more than 2.5 million. My brother Drew and I were two of the many people who went to check it out. So it's 5 a.m. We are in Siem Reap, Cambodia, and we just woke up pretty tired here. We are riding on a tuk-tuk, which is the three-wheeled mode of transportation that you see around Cambodia. It's basically a motorcycle-pulled little cart that people sit in. It's like a taxi. You hail it on the side of the road to take you wherever you go. They also have regular taxis, but this is kind of cheaper and smaller. It could a lot of times wind its way through traffic just because it's only three wheels. It's a pretty small thing. So we made arrangements with this particular tuk-tuk driver last night before we went to bed to pick us up in front of our hotel at 4:45 this morning. And you might ask, why in the world did we get up so early on our vacation? We're heading up the road right now to Angkor Wat, which is the most famous of several ancient temples here in northern Cambodia. Originally a Hindu temple, then I think it was taken over by the Buddhists. And there's still kind of the crumbling remains you could go to see and walk through. And it's a popular tradition here at the main temple where people go there every morning in the pre-dawn hours. And they watch the sun come up behind the temple and take photos. We are going to join them and see what it's all about. So we're a little bit farther up the road now. It's basically a square temple in the middle surrounded by a big square moat. And so we just rounded the corner and we could see a long line of car lights heading up the road to this temple. It's amazing. It's just after 5 a.m. and already there's thousands of people heading here. We're here now and walking in towards the bridge over the moat, and a huge line of people we could see ahead of us with their flashlights walking in the dark, and more cars and tuk-tuks keep arriving. We were hoping to get here a little early before the crowds, but I think you'd probably have to get here at 3 a.m. to beat everyone. There's some weird music off in the distance, not sure what's going on over there.
Okay, my store inside number 8.
Just on the other side of the bridge, there are all sorts of booths with vendors selling things, and walking around here now, trying to talk to the crowd coming in, telling them what booth they're in and saying, come to my booth after the sunrise, come eat at my booth for breakfast, trying to round up some business. So we're all walking across this stone walkway. Hear the crickets, see the stars brightly all around us overhead. The crescent moon still above us, and a hubbub of people coming out here, almost like people are on a pilgrimage. Finally, we arrived at the edge of a small pond. In the distance behind it, I could just barely make out some palm trees and the stone towers of Angkor Wat rising like pagodas from the darkness. This was the place everyone came to capture that perfect snapshot. It looked like a press conference was about to begin. Got all the people lining up right along the water's edge. Some people setting up tripods, some people pointing their iPhones. Everyone jockeying to get the best spot. Walking around, you hear pretty much every possible language being spoken. People come here from all over the world. I'd venture to say this is probably the most famous photographed sunrise in the world. Tell me your name?
Jane.
Jane,
Yeah.
okay. And you're a tour guide here?
I'm a tour guide here, 15 years.
15 years?
15 years.
So how many times do you think you've seen the sunrise here?
Maybe 1,000 times. Yeah.
Do you ever get tired of it?
Yes, I'm tired now, so yeah. We go every morning, wake up 4 o'clock a.m.
Every single morning?
Yeah, every single morning, 4 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah, until 2 p.m.
And then you go to sleep?
And I go to sleep, man.
What do you think of all these people coming here every morning? Is it too touristy now, do you think?
Now it's a lot of tour, many, especially Asian, like from Chinese, Korean, Japan. 10 years ago, not so many busy, less people. But 10 years ago, not so many foreigners, they don't know about Cambodia. Now we have a lot of website, Facebook, TripAdvisor, and then they have direct flight to another country, like direct flight from Seoul, from Beijing, from Singapore, from Kuala Lumpur.
Among the tourists visiting on this particular day were Kim, Johnny, Lynn, and Quinn, 4 friends from Sydney, Australia, who were still looking a bit bleary-eyed at this hour of the morning. Are you the kind of people who back home would get up early to see the sunrise?
No, definitely not.
No appreciation.
I seriously do not remember the last time I saw the sunrise, which is why this is so amazing.
You're not a morning person?
Yeah, no.
Solid no.
The sunrise would be really nice in Australia. We have.
I know.
would be.
We just take it for granted, don't we?
You have to check it out sometime.
Yeah, but I think it's also good that so many people are watching it at once. It's just kind of like you just feel that cultural connection, I guess.
Like the community aspect.
Yeah.
So deep, so deep.
So deep, dude. Oh.
But not everyone appreciated the collective experience. Janet Paul was visiting with her husband from San Diego.
We've been here before, about 6 years ago, and we didn't do sunrise, but it was nothing like this. I think in the past 6 years, this place has just turned almost into a Disneyland or something. I was saying it's like a rock concert. All the spiritual nature of the thing is, I feel like the juices have been pulled out. It's nobody's fault. I mean, everybody wants to see it, and everybody has a right to see it, but it's not what I expected.
What were you expecting?
Well, you have these romantic notions that you're going to, be at peace with the beauty as the sun rises, and you might have noticed I'm kind of short. I think once everybody puts up their cell phones and begins shooting, I probably won't even see the building at some point. But it'll clear afterwards. Our guide says everybody will leave afterwards, and then it'll be fine. it's still beautiful. But it's certainly not the way they show in the pictures, the peaceful water. It's different.
It's about 6:45 now, and the sun is finally rising above the tree line. It's a bright orange orb. It's pretty, though I think a lot of these people are probably disappointed that it's not directly behind the temple. It's actually way off to the right. So unless they were situated way to the left, they probably wouldn't have gotten the photos that they were hoping for. Bin Ho was part of a group of Korean high school students who came to Angkor Wat on the last day of their trip doing volunteer work in Cambodia. He seemed a little underwhelmed.
I guess we were hoping for something a little bit better than this, but I wouldn't say I would be impressed, but it was worth the visit.
Was it worth it? I mean, he seemed a little disappointed.
Kind of, but we're not like, this is so bad. But it's okay.
In all fairness, sunrises and sunsets probably aren't that exciting to most teenagers, though. Other people I spoke to, like Nims and Ash from London, were much more into it.
It's fascinating how people are drawn to sunrise. And, when you've got a backdrop like this, it makes it all the more exciting and beautiful.
And did it live up to your expectations?
It was fabulous. We've got some stunning pictures in the sky and the clouds and the reflection in the waters to die for.
We were just saying that, you see the sunrise every morning, when you're going to work, and you don't even think about it. You just like, I want to get to work. But here was just amazing.
Alice Devoskin, who traveled from Baltimore with her husband Phil and their friends Bill and Myra, told me she also felt like her expectations had more or less been met.
This is what we've come to see. We came 15 million miles to see a light on a building.
Does it make it a little bit less special, the fact that there's thousands of people here?
Yes. But the view is the view, and it's for our memory and our eyes. We can block out all these people and just remember what we've seen.
I came away feeling like that iconic photo of the temple with the rising sun is somehow both an authentic image of a place that really exists and also a pretense, a sort of phony and artificial portrayal of somewhere that no longer feels the way it looks. I tried to imagine what it was like standing in that spot a few decades ago, before the era of Facebook, Instagram, and the selfie stick, how quiet and serene it must have been without all the other tourists. And then I realized, of course, that I was part of the problem. It was that image that had drawn my brother and me and all the other people around us to come here in the first place, and now we were posting our own photos on social media to show our friends and family back home, doing our small part to encourage even more tourists to come to Angkor Wat. Very meta, I know, and I'm not sure what the answer is. Now, to be clear, despite the crowds, I still thought that Angkor Wat was an amazing and beautiful place, and dare I say, I think everyone should go. But if it continues increasing in popularity, I am concerned about what it will be like in the future. What do all of you think? Have you ever felt conflicted about this sort of thing? Or are there amazing places you visited that you hope no one else discovers? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Use the voice memo app on your phone to record a short message and email it to me at info@farfromhomepodcast.org, and I might use it on a future episode of this show. You could also tweet me at Scott Gurian. And if you want to be vague about the location of those special places you've discovered, don't worry. I totally respect that. Way back in the 1930s and 40s, when it was called French Indochina, Cambodia's colonial government built nearly 400 miles of train lines connecting one end of the territory to the other. But then came independence in 1953, followed by a civil war and the bloody era of the Khmer Rouge. And traveling by rail no longer seemed like an enjoyable or safe way to get around. My tuk-tuk driver, Sopan, told me he remembered what it was like riding the train during the height of the conflict.
I've been one time, 1987.
Okay.
Yeah, I go to Phnom Penh. I leave from Battambang at 7 o'clock in the morning. I arrive at Phnom Penh about 2 or 3 o'clock near the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and on the way, and some place, and the Khmer Rouge, they're fighting on the train. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, sure.
Fighting on the train.
Yeah, on the train. And the train they drive slowly. And on the train they had a soldier government.
Soldiers came on the train.
Yeah, soldier government and protect the train. They stay on the roof. Yeah, for the fighting with the Khmer in the forest.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow. So you were going through the forest and the soldiers were on the roof of the train shooting back at the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been scary.
Yeah, it's scary accident. One people accident and the leg.
They got hit in the leg with the bullets.
Yeah, when the Khmer Rouge they fight on the train. To the next station and they take the people to the hospital.
They took to the hospital. Yeah.
Over time, much of Cambodia's rail network was destroyed by landmines or fell into disrepair, and eventually all train service for both passengers and freight came to an end. But on one particular section of track, on the outskirts of the city of Battambang, something interesting happened. Locals trying to figure out how to get to otherwise inaccessible places came up with an inventive solution. They realized they could take a big rectangular bamboo platform, add some wheels salvaged from old military tanks, attach a boat or lawnmower engine, and make a little gas-powered cart to transport goods or passengers up and down the line. Students used it to travel back and forth to school, and farmers used it to take bags of rice or even livestock to the market. Sopan told me the bamboo was strong and capable of carrying up to about 2,000 pounds of weight. Eventually, dirt roads improved and motorbikes became more commonplace, so the bamboo railway had outlived its usefulness. But then it entered its second life as a tourist attraction, and that's what my brother and I came to see.
This is sort of like the rail yard. You got a bunch of a few dozen platforms sitting along the edge here, and the train conductors just sitting waiting for their morning passengers. Looks like they're oiling the wheels. And that guy over there is cutting up some bamboo poles, making more slats to repair the platform.
When they saw that we were ready to board, one of the drivers simply picked up some wheel axles that were lying in the dirt, placed them on the tracks, and then snapped the spare platform and an engine into place on top of them.
Okay, and here is our platform. Look at that, they got pillows and sheets, make it a little more comfortable sitting on the bamboo. A colorfully painted yellow frame with yellow and blue wheels. Getting the engine ready here. And here we go. The engine with a little belt connecting it to the wheels. Driver's sitting on the back of the platform. He's got a stick going into the engine, which he adjusts how fast it goes. And we're starting to barrel down the tracks.
This is really cool.
Almost like a ride at an amusement park or something.
Absolutely. A derailment would not at all surprise me.
Yeah. There's a little rickety bridge we're going over. A little bit scary.
Yeah.
We sped across rice fields and through railroad crossings where villagers waited patiently for us to pass.
This is going really fast now.
Yeah, we're definitely picking up some speed. Heading right through bushes on either side. And I see someone walking ahead of us. He's got water buffalo he's leading and taking them off the tracks so we can pass. And we're slowing down now because there's another train coming the other direction. They slowed down and stopped too. We're coming up to them here. Let's see what happens. They're picking up their platform, taking it off the tracks, picking up their wheels, moving them out of the way. And we're passing them. And they're behind us now. They're putting their wheels back on the track and putting the platform back on. And that's how it works. You got one set of tracks. You got a train coming either direction. One of them has to stop and pick it off the tracks, let the other one pass, put it back on, and continue on their way. It took us about 20 minutes to travel 4.5 miles down the track, reaching speeds of, I guess, about 20 miles per hour. Now, that might not sound like much, but when you're on a little platform holding on for dear life, that's fast enough. So to return to how I began this show, this was one of those places I managed to experience just in the nick of time. It was back at the end of 2015 when my brother and I went to Battambang to ride the bamboo railway, and just about a year later it stopped running to make way for real train service, which finally returned to the country after all these years. Now, that's certainly great news for the people of Cambodia, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit it also made me a bit sad that this unique and historic attraction was gone. The government didn't want to lose the stream of tourists, so it built a new track for the bamboo railway to keep it going, but it's much farther from town. And while much of the charm of the original railway was the rickety and uneven tracks, it's now neatly landscaped and lacks the gritty authenticity of what we experienced. I've seen pictures of it, and it just isn't the same. Follow Far From Home on Instagram or Facebook, where I've posted photos this week of the crowd watching the sunrise at Angkor Wat and a video of my brother and me riding the bamboo railway. Thanks this time to Katie McGee for editorial assistance and the Public Radio Exchange for podcast hosting and technical support. My credit music comes from violinist David Shulman. Check out more of his work at his website, quietlifemotel.com. My Season 2 logo comes from Polemic, which designs award-winning experiences all over the world at the intersection of culture, commerce, and community. Find out how they could help your business at polemicdesign.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.